Marshall Rosenberg once said, "The seed of violence in the world begins in the way I listen to myself and to you, in the way I think about myself and about you, and in the way I speak to myself and to you." My name is Daniele Gamberi, and today I have the pleasure of presenting my dissertation titled "Building Bridges, Not Walls: Strategies to Promote Nonviolent Communication in Today's Society." This work is inspired by Marshall Rosenberg's studies and my personal reflections on how to transform limiting mental paradigms. We live in a world immersed in media channels that often amplify violent and alienating communication, shaping the way we speak and relate to one another. This led me to ask myself, how can we transform communication from a source of division into a tool for connection and mutual understanding? In my research, I delved into the principles of nonviolent communication as a tool to foster authentic and mindful relationships. To support my analysis, I drew insights from relational psychology and neuroscience, which provide a deeper understanding of the mechanisms behind language and human behavior. This approach allowed me to examine examples from Italian television programs and propose more empathetic and constructive scenarios. Marshall Rosenberg suggests 4 essential steps to communicate with empathy. The first step is to observe the facts without judgment, focusing on what is concrete and measurable. The second step involves expressing emotions clearly and empathetically. The third step is identifying underlying needs, such as trust, safety, and appreciation. The fourth step is to make specific requests, avoiding coercion or demands. All of this would be impossible without empathy, which Rosenberg defines as the ability to connect with both our own feelings and the feelings of others, free from judgment. This raises an important question. If I'm not empathetic, does that make me violent? What exactly is violent communication? Violent communication is a coercive and offensive way of expressing ourselves. It includes generalizations and statements that provoke fear, shame, or guilt. To illustrate this concept, I'd like to share a case study from my dissertation involving Isabella and Armando. This example demonstrates how violent communication manifests and how we can instead express ourselves effectively by following the 4th step of NVC. Isabella is a calm and assertive person, whereas Armando tends to be direct and impulsive. The first step is observing the facts. The main mistake of Armando lies in his emotional reactivity. For instance, when Isabella says, "But I'm not calling you deaf," and Armando responds, "So stop playing the victim." Here, the use of the word victim doesn't describe a specific behavior, but labels Isabella in a negative way. To remain objective and neutral, Armando could start with the conjunction when. "Isabella, when I hear you use the term deaf," this phrasing allows him to express a specific observation without falling into personal judgments. Once Armando observes the facts, he needs to focus on his feelings. For instance, saying, "Because I feel responsible for what I say, but not for what you perceive from what I say." This reflects a lack of awareness because it ignores the role of nonverbal and paraverbal aspects of a communication. Instead, by applying nonviolent communication, Armando could say, "Isabella, when I hear you use the term deaf, I get upset," because this version helps him to express his emotions in a more thoughtful and constructive way. The third step is identifying needs. At this point, Isabella, who is familiar with NVC, might respond by paraphrasing, "Armando, so are you concerned that I'm using the wrong term and that it doesn't describe my condition and discomfort?" Such a response would reduce Armando's emotional defenses and create a place of mutual respect. Finally, the 4th step is making specific requests. Using phrases like "would you be willing to" or "I would like" provides a clear and respectful way to open the door to creative solutions that meet both parties' needs. Therefore, this study has shown that NVC is not just a theoretical model, but a practical and powerful tool for improving our daily relationships. By applying it, we can turn destructive conflicts into opportunities for personal and relational growth. The words we choose can either build walls or bridges. Let's use them wisely.